Hi all! So if you're in high school, it's probably coming up towards exam time right now, and I am sorry. If you're from the other side of the world, you've probably already completed your exams now, and so I say to you, well done. If you're like me, a bit older than high school age, then hopefully you can relate just a little. Anyway, for those who don't know, the HSC exams are the final high school exams that you take if you are a new Southern Welshman. And basically they determine which university courses you may be able to apply for later on. Due to the significance of these exams for so many of my viewers, from my ample experience, I've decided to gather some helpful tips that will help you on your exam journey. So here we go. Predicting your mark. Don't bother wasting your precious time and effort on online ATAR calculators, as there is a far simpler and more effective method. The truth is that your final mark will probably correspond with the marks that you've been getting throughout your entire high school life. So if you've been going pretty well, then you'd probably be okay. If you haven't, then my condolences. But unless if you change your study patterns now, which is something that you've probably already had 6 years to do, your marks are going to be about the same. Want proof? Well, I got exactly the same ATAR as the mark I got in my very first math exam in year 7. A study plan could be potentially very useful, but don't be silly and spend all the time you have on making one, because there is a far simpler method. A much more prudent method will be to get someone else to make it for you, so that way you get your study plan and also don't use any additional effort. Another tip is to not cram too much into a single day, so that way you get something instead of absolutely nothing done. Because getting your books out and immediately putting them away because you've only given yourself 15 minutes to recite 20 haikus doesn't feel particularly productive to me. Group study sessions, while are fun, usually amount to nothing being completed other than eating a copious amount of food. So if the exam really is the next day and you've done nothing so far, perhaps staying at home by yourself might be a slightly better choice. Plus they also make one extremely insecure, as everybody seems to talk about topics that you've never even heard of before and ask questions that you have no idea what the answers are, which isn't particularly useful if this is the day before. After completing notes of school exams on topics that you know will be in the HSC, just remember to keep them. And while on that note, remember to actually take down some form of notes during class, because begging someone who you usually wouldn't even talk to the nights before for their notes usually doesn't exactly go down all that well. Keep your expectations low so that once you get your marks, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Sometimes once you've reached the bottom of your Twitter feed and you finally feel up to date with world events, you might actually feel the urge to stop procrastinating. And when that time calls, I suggest printing off whatever resources you need from the internet onto paper, and also turning off your phone, your tablet, your computer, your desktop, your laptop, or basically anything with internet access. Once you have, then try to resist the urge to doodle on your notes. So if someone wants to have a look at your notes, you won't need to cover them up with post-it notes in sheer embarrassment. While there's nothing particularly wrong with rote learning essays, don't be me and fail to learn the text properly and also forget the essay that you've been trying to memorize for the past week when the time actually comes. Keep all your notes in the same place so that you won't be searching for them throughout the entire house when the time comes to study. Write down your notes on paper and don't type. If you type, not only does your handwriting become steadily worse, but you'll get the urge to copy and paste the notes from the PowerPoint with a questionable intention of going through it later, which never happens. If the stress does become a little too much, then try a change in setting. Take your books outside or into the dungeon of happiness. If you still can't find any motivation, then try playing your favourite film soundtrack in the background, but preferably something without words in it. If you can't be bothered to read a book that you've been assigned to read, then download the audiobook and listen to it on the way to and from school. If you can't memorize a poem and there's no audio recording of it online, then make a recording of yourself reading the poem and then just play it on loop. And then finally, if the stress does actually become overwhelming, then get your identical twin brother to complete the exam on your behalf. But seriously guys, I hope you sort of enjoyed my first semi-serious list video and at least found it somewhat informative. And just remember that if you actually are completing exams, then if you're not me, you probably won't be thinking of it much in a year's time. And if you don't make it into that course that you really are aiming for, then you'd be doing something else or finding another way to get into the course that you really want. Below, I have linked a video by Lex Croucher who goes a bit deeper into that topic. And comment below what tips you're using in preparation for exams, or if you've already completed them, how they were like for you. And on that note, toodaloo!